Greetings. So this is going to be a tutorial to show basically how some of the styles I use to edit live photos, performance photos. And this is a shot from this past weekend. Her name is Rachel George. You can look up her website at rachelbellydance.com. And this is the first time I had ever seen her perform at the MedFest last weekend. And this is just a random picture that I grabbed of her for performance. And this is the straight off the camera shot. And after a little bit of editing in I shoot raw, so the picture itself I got to make quite a few adjustments to it, which I usually like to do. I like to have as much flexibility as possible when it comes to that. So this is the original shot, and then this is the one after I brought it through raw. So you can see there is a difference in lighting and detail, especially. It's just a preset. I've got a bunch of presets that I use for when I'm importing photos from live shows, especially helps during dark performances, but for this one especially, I just wanted to brighten up the picture a little bit and enhance some of the details, some of the vibrance in her dress. And now I'm going to show you some of the editing techniques that I would use, that I normally use for all the live photos that I do. So the first thing I'm going to do is adjust the opacity to 100% on the pen tool, selecting white, and I'm going to go with a fairly large pen, about 600 or so. And I edit on a Wacom Cintiq 21. I think it's a UX. It's a monitor screen that I can actually draw directly on using a pen tool. And this has become extremely helpful to me in the past. I've had this for 4 years almost. I think it's actually just a little over 4 years. Got it in 2010. And since I've been drawing and painting and doing all kinds of stuff with actual, pens and pencils since I was little, this is an extremely invaluable tool to me because it feels like I'm actually drawing rather than using a mouse or using some sort of external device. I'm actually running the pen tip directly over the parts that I'm drawing on screen, so it's like I'm drawing on a piece of paper, except it's slightly tilted. So what I'm doing right now is just basically going in with solid white and eliminating all of the distracting background details and elements in the picture that I really don't want to be in the final thing. If I had to shoot on film, more than likely this would just be, it would be there permanently, and I couldn't do anything about it, and I would have to just, deal with it and hope that people can enjoy the picture with all of those things in there. But thankfully, since I have spent a lot of time in Photoshop figuring out how to change the images from what they are to what I want them to be, I've gathered up a bunch of different styles and techniques and tools to use to help eliminate the background. So there I got rid of everything in the background, the pole that was behind her. Sometimes I'll use it to eliminate, another person. Say it's a group of 6 people, and somebody will be directly behind the subject that is in focus that I want to have, and the person behind will be completely hidden except for possibly a hand sticking out while they're dancing or something. And each picture is different. I can look at a picture pretty much immediately, know exactly what I want to change or what I don't want to change about the photo. And sometimes I do like another person in the background to be seen as well, because it adds depth and it shows, sometimes they're smiling or they're in the middle of a dance move or their hair is flying around or something that helps that picture stand out, and I want to save that part of it. But for this one especially, since she's a soloist, just wanted to eliminate anything in the background that would be distracting, and I actually really like the stark look of this with a white background and a dancer in motion or showing some sort of emotion. So the next thing I will do, still using the pen tool, is I will go and select vivid light mode, and probably about 15% as far as the opacity. What this does is it basically burns whatever color that you're using, whether it's red or orange, blue, black, or white. I prefer to use white just because in this case it will highlight slightly, as you can see around the hair. It will eliminate all of that gray that's right there. It's basically burning white on top of the gray, and you want to be careful not to have it too strong because it will burn the hair as well as clothes and skin and anything else you get it really close to. But what it does is eliminate all of that gray that's around her skin and around her shoulders for the most part. And it helps it so it keeps a very seamless flow from her outfit to the background, which is now all white since we just painted it with 100% white. So as you can see up there near her hand, there's a little bit of that pole left. So what I will do once I'm done on the right side of her body, I will go back, select just a normal brush at 100%, and I will make it a very small brush this time. And what I'll do is zoom in right around where her thumb is and just very tenderly go around so it eliminates anything else that was remaining behind her as far as the brush goes. And there's a little bit right there inside the armpit as well. Alright, so it looks like that is pretty much everything I wanted to change about this photo. I don't see any other grayish areas anywhere around the body. Alright, so I'll zoom back out. Now, I do like this photo as it is as far as composition, but what I'm going to do is duplicate the layer. And some artists won't do this, some artists will. I haven't really found an issue with it, and I've been doing this for many years with thousands of photos. What I'm going to do is duplicate the layer, and then I'm going to free transform and change the height of it a little bit so she fills up a little bit more of the frame. The original shot was a little bit farther out than I wanted to because I try and capture as much as possible, and with people that are moving very quickly and dancing and spinning their head, it's kind of hard to know sometimes. So if you're going to get them all in the shot or if you're going to cut their head off. That's what I was trying to say. So I would apply that now, and I usually zoom in for last minute details just to see if there's anything left. I try and make sure that the images itself as clean as possible, as noise free as possible. And a big tip for a lot of people that do editing on your monitor, I've found that for myself, this is something I had to deal with a couple years ago. Make sure that your monitor, the contrast, the light settings, the black settings, all of that in your monitor, make sure those are turned down very, very low, because a lot of times we'll try and adjust it so it looks really good and very dynamic from when we're watching videos or editing pictures. But the problem is that puts blinders on to how the picture actually will look when you upload it to the internet or when you put it on a print site or anything like that. It'll eliminate some of the areas in the picture that are actually there so that you can't see them. So you'll be adjusting blacks, and there'll be, say that there's a section right in here. If this was a shot at night, there'll be a black section in here where there's some noise and there's some white specks, and you won't see it because it'll be so black that it's crushed it out. So make sure that your monitor settings are as flat as possible. That way you're actually seeing the real honest picture, not your monitor's adjustment of it, because your monitor can look very different from everybody else's, and you don't want to have an image that looks good to you and then upload it and everybody else who sees it sees the flawed image. So that is one example of how I edit photos. This took maybe 5-6 minutes. It was a very simple photo. Some of them are very simple, some of them are very, very difficult. Sometimes I'll edit out a pole that's directly in front of somebody, or a dancer who's in front of another dancer who's the subject, and her arm is out and covering part of her body. So I'll have to do some creative photoshopping and cloning and stamping, and sometimes I'll even take from another image entirely of that same dancer to Photoshop in her shoulder or wherever the part would be that would be missing. So this is one picture of I shot over 1,600 photos that day. And I do have many more of Rachel George and many other belly dancers from that day that I will be editing as well. Some of them will be probably just about as quick as this, 5 to 10 minutes per picture. And then some of them will take more like 20 to 30 minutes depending on how much needs edited out. So that was the tutorial for how one of the very simple things that I do to edit photos, and thankfully this one was not very difficult. So if you do like the photos, you can go check out any of the other thousands of pictures that I have on drumrollstudios.com. And you can go check out Rachel George as well as at her website.